It's David again. Obviously my big production company again. God. Well, just gonna make a couple notes to myself here. Okay, I want to talk about quadruple bypass surgery. And again, I'm just talking on stuff I've experienced. I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about David and how that interacts with the Mormon Church and probably my progression into being an atheist. I was sitting at home one day and watching TV, eating potato chips, and had a Coke in my hand, and this kind of irritating feeling in my chest. And it wasn't painful, but it was just kind of obnoxious. So I went to Walmart and I bought some antacids and other kind of over-the-counter. I thought, well, if I go to bed, I'll feel okay in the morning. So I went to bed, woke up in the morning, still there. Oh, crap. There's something in there that's wrong. What's going on here? So I drove myself to the hospital. And I'll give them a little bit of a commercial here. St. Mark's Hospital. Found it a wonderful, it was an Episcopalian hospital. It was one of the first hospitals built in Utah, not LDS regional hospital. But anyway, St. Mark's I found to be good to me. And so I went over to the emergency room and basically said, I have some little bit of pain here. And when you go into an emergency room with at my age and with pain, they're going to take you around the splinters and a few other the minor kinds of things. And I went right in the emergency room. And they immediately started doing blood tests and doing questioning and going on in the emergency room. And I was in there quite a while. And again, I'm old. This is a year ago. I don't even remember, who I was yesterday. But I think they did a CAT scan, and eventually they did an MRI. I don't think it was this time, though. And the emergency room doctor got a cardiologist, and he came in, and he spoke to me, and he said, well, all the tests show negative. You have not had a heart attack. I said, okay, go ahead. Send me home. I don't care. And he said, well, I just have a feeling. Now, if you've seen my other videos on feelings, this is going to be kind of contradictory. And he said, I just have a feeling I want to keep you here overnight. And I said, well, if that's what you feel, fine. So they sent me upstairs into the cardiac area, and within, 45 minutes, I was pushing the button saying, I've got chest pain. And I was in the right place at the right time, and I was in the operating room within 20 minutes of those pains. And they went up with an angiogram. I don't know if you know what that is or not, but they stick a tube and a camera and some dye up your artery by your leg, and goes up into your heart, and they shoot the dye, and then the camera can pick up the dye's picture, and the heart just lights up with all of its arteries and whatever. Well, long story short, they put in, I don't remember, I think 2 stents that time, and went home and happy ever since. And then exactly a year after that, almost on the day, I had the same pain on the other side, and I went in, and they put 3 more stents in that side. And I'm like, well, this is good, living on. I don't want to, but I am. And that doctor happened to look up into the artery areas of the heart, and he said, David, he said, you got some bad news up there. He said, you're 80% clogged on at least 3 or 4 or 2 arteries up there. I'm going to have to refer you into open heart bypass surgery. And I said, okay. So I went home, thought about it for a couple of weeks. My kids are still a little bit young, and I thought, well, if I can stay around another 5 years or 10 years, maybe I should. So a long story short, again, I went in and did all the hoop jumping for quadruple bypass surgery. And I just remember a few events. One was the laying on the gurney to go into the operating room, and the anesthesiologist was there. And I said, listen, I said, I've woken up twice under general anesthetic. And if I wake up this time, me and you are going to have a conversation. He says, I understand. So he overdosed me, which later on made me throw up for 9 hours. But, you know, he did what I told him to do. They put me to sleep. I don't remember anything. And then, of course, I remember coming out and being in intensive care. The pain, unbelievable. Oxycontin and morphine were my friends. Anyway, I remember just before I went in for the operation, I was laying in a bed by myself, and of course they say there's no atheist in a foxhole. I found that not to be true. My habit of going into serious, very serious life situations was always taught by the Mormon church that I was to pray to Jesus to help me. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I have prayed to Jesus as much as I've prayed to the atheist God, and I've gotten the same damn answer. Nothing. Now, the Mormons will say, oh, see, you survived. Jesus was there. Well, if I died, they would have said, well, see, he wasn't a member of the church. And Jesus wasn't going to be there for him. When you do as I say, you have a promise. If you don't do what I say, you have no promise. You know, I've been down that doctrinal road. I was laying there in the bed, and it was about 10 minutes before I went into surgery, and I thought, gee, maybe I should pray. And the hospital priest came in. That's not a good sign. Just before you go into surgery, they don't send him unless there's a good chance you ain't coming back out of there. So he said to me, he said, well, you know, how do you feel? And I told him, and I said, well, why are you here? I didn't send for you. And he said, well, the hospital has me come by on these situations, and he says, is it okay if I pray for you? And I said, no, it really isn't. I said, I don't believe in your Jesus, and if you want to pray for somebody, pray for my surgeon, that his hands are nimble today and that his brain is clear and that he can do the very best that he can do. Pray for my surgeon. Well, the chaplain loves me as much, I guess, as the Mormon people do, and he left the room. I don't know if he prayed for the surgeon or not. In the last few minutes, I was sitting there and thinking, well, you know what? This could be the last rodeo. Am I going to break down and go, hey, Jesus, oh, I'm so scared. I don't want to be in the devil's hell, you know, save me. And, you know, being bipolar, we process very quickly and multi-process a lot. And I said to myself, no, I'm not going to go to the Jesus God. I'm going to face this on my own. If this is the end, it's the end. If I meet Jesus and I was wrong, you know, he forgives 70 times 7, so I figure I got 69 more events that I can be forgiven for. And if there's nothing, I go into surgery and I just vanish into outer space. That's okay too. I don't care. I'm atheist. So, there are atheists in foxholes. I'm not going to call on Jesus because the bombs are coming in or because I may die. I'm going to die anyway. And I don't believe that, you know, when your time is up, and that there's some kind of a pattern. I believe it's a throw of the dice. You may live to be 100, you may live to be 21. And that has nothing to do with Jesus or how much I believe in certain religions. It's a part of life. It's just part of life. It's like throwing dice. So, I don't have to believe in Jesus. And it's taken me a long walk out of the Mormon church to go into atheism. It hasn't been that hard, I'll tell you. When you've got gold plates that disappear and no one knows where they went, and marrying 14-year-olds, it doesn't take too far to go that men who walk on water and show up at a grave and disappear at a grave and then walk through walls and do things when there's perfectly good doors and windows to knock on. It wasn't hard for me to go, gee, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So the Jesus thing, I don't mean to be offensive to anybody, but I'm not talking to anybody. I'm talking to myself. The Jesus thing, I think, is as fake as the Mormon thing. And so I'm now a confirmed atheist. And when I die, whatever happens to me, happens to me. If you believe in Jesus points and you're going to have a mansion, and my Father's house, there's many mansions and gold roads, and And, I go and prepare one for you today, the thief on the cross. Good. Good. Maybe you'll get exactly what if you get lots of Jesus points, you might get all that stuff. I don't need it. I have a nice house. I have nice cars. I have a good life. I don't need to make points to have a good life. If I have any control of my life, I'll make it as good on the other side as I've made it here. If I don't, if I don't have control, what am I going to kneel down and beg and beg? You guys do that. I'm not interested. Now, let me get to a little more serious subject, and that is this. How do you raise children when you're an atheist? Most of the American society is going to be Christian, whether it's different religions, but it's going to be basically Christian. And I'm still raising 2 girls, and when my Mormon friend, who still is my friend, he's the only friend that has stayed with me through atheism, when he found out that I left the Mormon church and found out that I turned atheist, oh my gosh, he went into the Mormon Indian dance, Lamanite dance, Native American dance, I don't know what generation you're coming from, and he said, oh David, oh, you don't realize what you're doing to those girls, you don't realize, oh, their salvation and their training and their belief in Jesus and in the church, you're going to be punished forever doing that. I listened respectfully. I didn't even say anything. But I will now. He's full of shit. He's full of shit. I've been raising my girls now 2 years, 3 years as an atheist. And they are the kindest, sweetest, most gentle little human beings I've ever had. All the other 12 kids that I raised as atheists, I'm not going to generalize and overstate, but they certainly are different. Let me be kind. They're different than these 2 girls being raised atheists. These girls have their choice to believe in a God, not to believe in a God. And frankly, they have a choice to go to the Mormon church. If they want, their mother's a Mormon. She hasn't gone in years. Most Mormons don't. Once they get baptized, they fall away anyway. But raising children atheists, I don't see as any more difficult than raising children as Christians. We don't blame Jesus in our home for everything that goes good, and we don't blame Satan for everything that goes bad. My kids have a very grounded knowledge of how the world works. Sometimes things go good, sometimes they go bad. It has nothing to do with their behavior or their lack of belief in a religion. I train my kids to be the friendliest, the happiest, the most accepting children. Now, let me tell you, I've been a Mormon. I've raised 12 Mormon kids. Rebecca wasn't a Mormon. She was a Jehovah's Witness. I raised 11. Okay, if you check my background, you'll see I'm speaking the whole truth. Nothing but the truth. My kids have been trained here now, being atheists, me, with freedom. They can join any religion they want. They can believe anything that they want. They can go to church anywhere they want. Go with their mom, go with the Catholics, go to the Church of the Devil. I don't care. They have true free agency. Now the Mormon church will say, oh, you have your free agency. I guess that's kind of like a Nazi concentration camp, free agency. If you believe that the people that were in the Nazi concentration camps had free agency, you're going to fit into Mormonism very, very well. I have taught my kids this. Number one, you accept everybody. I don't care if they're gay, I don't care if they're old, I don't care if they're male, female, skinny, young, old, fat, religious, non-religious. They're human beings. You value them as a human being. I never said that to my Mormon kids because I didn't know that. I wasn't trained that in the Mormon church. My teenager has a friend, a girlfriend, that weighs 350 pounds, and when she was invited to our pool this year to play with my daughter, she walked our 6-foot pool everywhere and her head never went underwater. And that's a big 6th grader. Anybody growing up with me, we would have stayed away from that person. Number one, we would be scared. Number two, everyone would laugh at us because we were a friend of the fat girl. She's one of my child's best friends. And my child is the one that helped her when she had trouble with her locker the first few days of 7th grade. My child is the one that went over to her birthday party. My child is the one that was over there the other day when the girl wasn't going to school anymore and has to have an operation, I guess, thyroid. So my daughter has not only talked the talk, but she's walked the walk. Now, one friend doesn't make your whole life. She invited a couple of her other friends swimming this year. Girls I never met. Jasmine, she's black. My daughter accepted a black girl for a friend. They're the closest friends in the world right now in 7th grade. They play together constantly, go everywhere together. And then her other little friend, Misty, not Misty, I can't think. Tongan. The father is a Tongan. The girl wouldn't look like a Tongan in a million years, but her father's a Tongan. That's 3. Then Chai shows up from the Shanghai, only been in the United States a week. And my daughter, not the Mormon daughter, the atheist daughter, went to Chai and said, you know, I'm from the Philippines and I know what it's like to be new if you'd like to be my friend. And Chai has been like a daughter over here ever since. So, you have Malaysia, the Philippines, Tonga, Black Africa. That's how you raise an atheist daughter. And when the Mormons have been rude, crude, and insensitive to her, I've just told her, be better. Be better than the Mormons. Smile. And don't let them hurt you. Just be the best person you can be. And she is. She's got babysitting jobs. She's got money. She has her own iPod. She has her own clothes. And she has straight A's except 1 B- in math. Does her homework every night. Calls me whenever she basically is somewhere so I know where she is. Has learned everything about the birds and the bees. Makes up her own mind. And her little sister is following in the exact same teaching patterns. When the blind man walks across, my little 8-year-old runs down the 3 flights of stairs and grabs him by the hand and helps him to his apartment. So don't tell me you have to be Christian to be a good person. Don't tell me you can't be a good atheist. We're not apostates. We're not godless. We're not the scum of the earth. We're regular human beings who have tried different religions, different philosophies. We've read, we've been educated, and we go, you know, we don't believe in that. That doesn't mean we smoke, we drink, we're alcoholics, we're drug addicts, we have, molestation of our children, we don't have a driver's license, we drive without insurance. When you're a Mormon, that's what you're trained to think about me. None of it's true. I'm sitting right here in front of you. Of course, the Mormons are going to go, see, he's lying. He's lying, he's upset at the church, and he's just trying to get us. If you want to be a Mormon, please be a Mormon and stay a Mormon. If you believe in Jesus and he's helped you and he's answered your prayers, man, pray to the guy and get those Jesus points. And if it makes you feel good and safe and serene and secure, stay with Jesus. Stay with Mormonism. I'm telling you where my mind was, where it is today. And I'm still raising 2 minor girls, and I'm an atheist. They're atheist. And they're some of the sweetest, friendliest little kids in the whole school. When I went to parent-teacher conference, there wasn't one teacher that didn't compliment me on the way we were raising those girls. When I've taken them to babysitting jobs, I've had the parents come to me and say, boy, I would love to give you my kids in a minute and take yours. They're the most polite, serene, quiet, gentle, friendly kids I've ever seen. So this doesn't fit. This doesn't fit with Mormonism, and when Mormons watch this, they say, well, it's just a small period of time. He'll get his punishment. Those kids will get punished for not believing in Jesus and going to primary and young women's and doing their things that the Mormon church requires. That's the way Mormons are trained. I'm not. I'm happy being an atheist. My kids are doing well. They're matriculating in all life areas. My kids are adopted. I have another child that's adopted. The rest of them are natural children. And I let my children talk to their biological parents across the other side of the world. I'm not afraid. I'm not intimidated. I was when I was a Mormon. I was when I adopted kids. They're my kids. You don't talk to them. I own them. I'm taking them to the temple, and they're sealed for time and eternity. Well, these kids aren't sealed to me. They're not even baptized. And I'm not afraid. They want to go back to their biological parents. Be my guest. There's the door. Don't let it hit you in the butt. They don't want to. They want to be here. They have a good life. I have a good life. I love them. I've learned a lot about them and about children. The older you get, the better parent you get, hopefully. And I just wanted to close by simply saying that you can be an atheist and be a good person. And that Mormonism and Christianity doesn't have to go hand in hand. In fact, they don't really go together. The Mormons sing praise to the man, and Joseph Smith is their God and their prophet and their leader, and Jesus just happens to be there because you can get more attention if you talk about Jesus. So, maybe this was helpful, maybe it wasn't. Thanks a lot. Bye.